start with some integer basics, and this is something you'll need if you're beginning either a pre-algebra or an algebra class, and even a higher level math if it's been a while since you took some math. So let's begin with just some combining of some integers through adding and subtraction. I want to start with what in the world an integer is. What is an integer? Well, the way I like to tell my students, sometimes it helps them remember, is that if you think about a number line and you drew a number line and you turned it on its side, so if I take that number line and I turn it on its side, it makes a big old, looks like an I, and that stands for integer. Not really, but that's what I tell them to remember. So the numbers that you would usually use, okay, these numbers here that you would usually use to label a number line are integers. Now, when I say usually, some number lines you're going to see, have fractions on them, and those are not integers, but it's the numbers that you usually use, to label, with which to label a number line. Okay, so those are integers. So we are going to look at combining integers through adding and subtracting. And so let's take a look at what happens when I'm adding integers with the same sign. The signs are matching. Well, of course, this is going to be pretty simple. I know that from second grade, I know that 5 plus 8 is 13. But I'd like to look at the underlying reason, right? You always want to ask why in math. So the underlying reason that we can actually step out on a number line is quite obvious. So let's take a look at it. If I want to place a 5 on the number line and it's a positive, then that means I'm going to start at 0 and I'm going to go 5 in the positive direction. So this is a positive 5, and therefore I go from 0 to positive 5. I go 5 this way. Now, because it's plus, that means I'm going to combine. So plus from now on is going to mean combine. I'm going to combine that, meaning I'm going to pick up where I left off, and I'm going to put another 8. What kind of 8? Positive 8. I'm going to put it positive 8, which means I'm going to go in the positive direction. So I'm going to go 8 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I take a 5 and I add an 8, that just means I'm going to move in the same direction on the number line, and of course my result is 13. Very simple. Well, what if I am combining two integers that are negative? Well, this right here we're going to say means combine, and when I say combine, I mean I can use the number line. Okay, that's what we're going to say from now on for this whole video. When I see a plus sign, it just means I can use a number line to kind of act this out, to walk it out. So notice this is negative 5. So I'm going to start at 0 and I'm going to go negative 5. So there's my negative 5. Now negative is a direction. The negative, is a direction. The 5 is a distance. So let's take a look now at the negative 8. I'm combining it, meaning I'm picking up where I left off. That's all that means. Pick up where you left off. So let's go 8 in the same direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there I am. Okay, well, where I am is at negative 13. So the same concept works for both of these expressions. Okay, so let's take a look. What do I do? Does the idea of combining, does that still work if I'm using opposite signs? So let's take a look at opposite signs. Well, we said that this negative 5, first of all, this means combine, right? So I can use a number line to explain it, so to speak, to act it out, so to speak. So I'm going to go to negative 5. So negative is a direction, okay, and 5 is how far. And now this plus just means I'm combining, meaning pick up where you left off. Pick up where you left off. So there's my negative 5. I'm going to pick up where I left off, which means I'm going to put a positive, that's positive, 8. Well, if I pick up where I left off, meaning I start positive 8, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, duh. That's a plus 8. And we see that what's really happened is that we've really subtracted the numbers. We've taken the large, absolute value of the large, minus the absolute value of the small. So I basically just said 8 minus 5. So I've taken the difference of the numbers. And where has it left me? It's left me at positive 3. Well, let's take a look at why. Why has it left me at a positive 3? Well, because the 8 was large enough to get me out of the negatives into the positives, right? Well, what if I start the other direction? What if I say, okay, let's start with a positive 5. Remember, the positive is a direction. There's the direction. And then, of course, this right here means combine, means pick up where you left off after you put the positive 5 on there. So this is a positive 5. I'm going to go now, combine it with a negative 8. Well, that means this way, direction is negative. So then I'm going to go 8 spaces. Oops, 5, 6, 7, 8. And here I am. And so that's negative 3. Well, that actually makes a lot of sense. So what I've done in this top one here, this one right here, I've still subtracted. I said 8 minus 5. Here I still subtracted. I said 8 minus 5. In other words, I'm going to take the big one minus the little one, meaning absolute value, you know what I mean. 8's, if I just look at the 8 without the sign, it's 8 and then I take away a 5. Big minus little. And then the determining factor for the sign of it is which one the big one was, right? Because this negative 8 is big enough to take it out of the positive and put it into the negative. So I'm going to use the negative for that one and the positive for this one. Okay, so I hope that helps. Let's move on to what we would do then if we were to subtract integers. Now, in order for me to use the number line, I have to turn this into an addition problem. So this right here doesn't mean combine. I'm going to write that. Doesn't mean, it's not ready. So on the previous ones we were able to just combine it on the number line. Can't do that here. Doesn't mean combine. Negative or minus. So what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite it. We're going to rewrite this. And if you look at a math dictionary and you look up subtract, one of the definitions they have, one explanation for subtraction is to add the opposite. You're going, wait a minute. Subtract means to add? Yes. Add the opposite though. So let's take a look and rewrite this. Watch. The negative 5 stays untouched. The subtraction means I'm going to add. And now that was subtracting a positive 8, but it says the opposite. So it's going to mean a negative 8. So if I rewrite the problem, then it really is a negative 5 plus a negative 8. Right? So then now this right here means combine, and I can use my number line to think it through. So here we go. I have a negative 5. I'm going to kind of make this quick. My artwork might not be as refined as the last problem. And then a negative 8. So this is combining two negatives, right? A negative 5 and a negative 8. And that's going to give me a negative 13. So what I tell my students is, look, don't ever leave a subtraction. Don't. Because if you look at the dictionary, it means add the opposite. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's fix all the subtraction signs. So I'm going to say let's fix the subtraction signs. Fix them. Here we go. Now, notice how many times when I apply the definition, let's see how many marks my pencil makes. I'm going to make this add, and then the opposite of the next one would be a positive. That was 2 marks, right? Let's do it at this one. This is minus, so minus means add, and then the opposite of positive 8 is negative 8. So notice that every time my hand is adding the opposite, it's taking 2 marks with my pencil. Now, why did I not mark here? Because that's not a subtraction. We start with subtraction. So here it is, add, now the opposite, the opposite. Okay, let's take a look. I'm going to keep going. This doesn't need to be fixed. This one's fine. Let's take a look at this one. This is add the opposite. So that's negative 7 minus 3. Excuse me, plus negative 3. This is add the opposite, add the opposite. Notice 2 marks, add the opposite, and add the opposite. Let's keep going. That one doesn't need to be fixed. This one is add, and what's the opposite of negative 11? Positive 11. Add the opposite. Oop, that almost got me. This next one here, this one's fine. We don't need to fix it. All right, now let's go through, and once I've fixed everything, in other words, I've made it ready, I've prepared it for the number line combining. So now, again, this is combine on the number line. We can make a little rhyme. Combine on the number line. So I'm going to go a negative 5. I'm going to combine it with a positive 8. And that's going to give me a 3. Why is it positive? Well, it's quite clear. Right there. I'm in the positive department. 5 plus negative 8. Go up 5. Bring back 8. Oops. Went too far. That's negative 3. Easy. Now this is just 5 plus 8. I'm going to go to 5. That's positive. I'm going to go 8 more. And that's 13. Really simple, right? Really, really simple. Let's finish these up pretty quickly. Can you do these next ones in your mind's eye? Can you do them without actually using the number line? Sure you can. If I go negative 10 and I turn around and go back up 8, aren't I still going to be in the negative department? Am I not going to be, in the negative? Certainly I am. So negative 7 plus negative 3 is negative 10. Go ahead and use the number line if you want, but I'm going to go ahead. Whoa! Okay, these adjusted on me when I switched. When I scrolled. Okay, so I have a positive 4. I'm going to go back negative 11, and that's going to give me a 7, but it's going to be negative. Let's take a look at that one. Positive 4, there's the positive 4. I'm going to go back 11. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There it is, negative 7. 12 plus negative 5, that just means I'm going to take 12 minus 5. That's a 7, but I'm still in the positive department. Oh, goodness, I'm sorry, this all messed up. Plus negative, plus negative. All right, so let's take a look at this one. This is going to be a negative 7. This is going to be a negative plus a negative is a negative 18. I'm still continuing down the negative department. This one here is a positive 1. This one got messed up. Positive, positive, or plus whatever. So this is going to be a negative 5 plus 11. That's going to be a positive 6. And maybe this is the last one. That's going to be a negative 7. Oops. Excuse me. That's going to be a negative 7. Pardon me. Negative 17. There we go. Let's get this back together here. We have a negative 5. We have a negative 12. That's 12 more, right? That's 12 more after 5. It's going to be a negative 17 is what it's going to be. Oh, I have a couple more here. Let me get that. Or one more. Let's finish this up. So this is going to be a negative 4. That's a negative 1, and I'm going to keep going in the negative direction. 3 more, so that's a negative 4. All right, I hope this was really helpful. Thanks for watching.